The Metis Tech Show.
Welcome to the Metis Tech Show, a show for HVAC professionals by HVAC professionals.
I like how you guys bounce back and forth between heat pump talk and food talk.
The Metis Tech Show.
Mitsubishi.
All right. So I told you guys that I like watching cooking shows. And now YouTube has changed everything, but there's one, all recipes. And there's this woman on there, Nicole McLaughlin. And if I wasn't married, I'd be looking her up. She cooks some stuff. So the other day it was this thing, and she took, the King's Hawaiian rolls. She took the whole, a dozen, 24 different sizes. There's a dozen rolls. She cuts them in half. I wish they would come pre-cut. If anybody from King's Hawaiian is listening, pre-cut those, because it's hard to get them even all the way across. But she takes the bottom part and puts it in a casserole dish. Then she takes cooked breakfast sausage. She just and layers it on there. And then a little bit of brown sugar and some cheese, right? Some egg, right? Scrambled cooked eggs, right? And then she takes the top part and she puts it in an egg wash, like you're making French toast. Egg, cream, cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever you're going to put in there. And then puts that on top and then drizzles it with a little bit of maple syrup. I think the maple syrup might have gone inside. And then she bakes it at like 400 for like 10 or 12 minutes. It comes out and, it's so good. Yeah. It's not good for you, but it's really good.
So they're considered like a slider?
Yeah, like a breakfast French toast heart attack slider.
Nice.
What about you, Steve? Do you have any guilty pleasures of things you like to make?
I like to make nachos. I like actually when my wife makes like a 3-course meal and I get home and I say, yeah, I'm not hungry. And then an hour later, I'll make a whole pile of nachos. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that.
Be a man.
She'd probably kill you. But I don't know. I'm kind of like, I got like these certain entrees that I like. Not so much snacking, but if I'm doing nachos, it's just the layer of chips, layer of shredded cheese, layer of chips, layer of shredded cheese, microwave 3 minutes. I don't really go all out with the nachos.
I'll put them on a cookie sheet and do that, and I'll make like chili and pour the chili on there with some cheese, lots of cheese, some jalapenos. I don't like sour cream, but this woman, Nicole, on all the recipes, she had a bunt pan. What's it? A bunt pan? Bunt pan. And she put beans and beef on the bottom with some cheese. Then she put a layer of those round nachos on there and just kept putting stuff and layering it, cheese and a bunch of stuff and jalapenos. And she bakes it. Yeah. And you tip it upside down and it's just a ring of nachos and every chip has stuff on it. And that's the tough part to do. Yeah. That's the tough part to do with nachos because you got to layer it, because I used to just, put a whole bag of, those big triangle nachos on a cookie sheet.
And it turns into one big chip.
Yeah, it turns into one big chip. And then by the time you get to the bottom, there's just chips.
Yeah, and it's good, but you need the queso.
Yeah.
The soft queso.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's things that I don't really go out of my way. Bryn, you like to make like apple crisp and all these things, sweets and stuff. I don't know. I think if anything, my kids like when I make, going back to sliders, the steak and cheese sliders, because the Hawaiian rolls, you can put anything in there, hamburger, steak, chicken, whatever it is. And
just simple cheeseburgers are great on those.
And don't break them all apart. You just cut them in half and you can do like a whole 24 pack or a 12 pack, fill it with steak, cheese, peppers, onions, and it's fantastic.
I did that last Super Bowl Sunday, and with the griddle, I cook the ground beef to make cheeseburgers, and I cook it flat in one big rectangle. I start off with just a little bit bigger than the sliders because it's going to shrink, and then I just take a couple of wide spatulas, and I just lay it right there on the whole thing, and it's one big giant rectangle hamburger. Yeah, of course with cheese.
So my guilty pleasure as far as making stuff is like last night is a perfect example. I got done with dinner and I just wanted to make cookies. So I have like a cookie recipe that's my go-to. and it takes me 20 minutes from when I start putting the ingredients together to when it comes out of the oven. So it's like a really quick one, and it only makes like a dozen cookies, so you don't go overboard. It doesn't make like a ton of them. It's a small batch recipe, but they're fantastic. Like they're the best cookie I've ever had, and you make them from scratch. Like I make the dough myself and everything, and they're fantastic. But on the topic of those sliders, this is going to sound really gross, but I have a recipe for making mock White Castle sliders. And so what do is you take like slider buns, and then you take a pound of ground beef, and before you do anything with it, you put some milk in there. You put a French onion pack, which Steve will love, one of those French onion soup mixes. You put one of those in there.
Yeah.
And then you put, this is weird, a little bit of peanut butter in it. So it's milk, French onion soup mix, and a little bit of peanut butter. And you mix it all together like you're making meatballs, and then you put it in a pan, like a baking dish. You flatten it out, nice rectangular shape in this baking dish. And then you put it in the oven at like, I think it's like 400 degrees, if I remember, for 5 minutes. You take it out, you put diced onions around the outside of the baking dish. Then back in the oven for 5 minutes. Then you pull it out and you put the onions on top of the burgers. And then you put cheese across the whole top. Back in the oven for 5 minutes, pull it out, and they're done. The burgers are basically baked instead of like actually grilled, because the White Castle burgers are steamed. So once you have it all layered, then you put the buns on top, just the top buns on, back in the oven for a couple of minutes. Then you pull them out, and then you just put them on the bottom buns, and you end up with like a dozen of them. And it's all in the oven. It's one pan, and they come out perfect. Like, amazing.
You know what I have to say about that?
There's probably a lot.
No. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Venice Tech Show. My name is Paul Shives. With me and joining me in studio and on video for the third episode, Steve. Steve, say hi.
Hey.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
I'm just glad this table's here now. The previous episode, I just can't, I don't know. They say the camera adds 10 pounds. I think it added about 50 pounds in those chairs.
There were 3 cameras.
It was
10 pounds
like,
apiece.
yeah, I felt like Jabba the Hutt sitting there. And they probably still do look like that on camera. I'm just not happy with
So
it.
if this is your first episode.
You guys looked great. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, no, we beat you.
I really did think it was good.
If this is your first episode that you're listening to, it's our third one where we're using a video for the YouTube watchers.
Yeah.
So the first one was with Sean Gallagher, and we had all the stuff in our faces and everything. We didn't really, we just tried it out, an experiment. Then the last episode, Steve and I was sitting in like between two ferns, so it reminded me of it.
Right.
Right. And, and we talk about food because Steve and I, if you looked at us, you would know one thing. These guys like food. Right. And now this is actually more comfortable because now I can have things in front of me. And there are times when we're doing an episode when we actually have our laptops. We're looking up stuff. We're reading right from the manuals.
Yeah.
So this is much better. And we literally just threw this together 10 minutes
We
ago.
have these ultra mini splits that make us look even bigger.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
So anyway, what are we going to talk about? Oh, wait, and Bryn, you're here too. We didn't introduce you.
Yes, I am here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bryn Raptor,
Bryn's
Steve
acting.
Pimentel, and
He's
myself.
like, I want his job. He's like in the behind the scenes with all the controls and everything. And
You're like the Joe Rogan of the show.
No, I'm the
he's
Jamie of
Jamie
the show.
of the show.
Oh, the Jamie of the show.
Jamie's
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I get to hide my
Jamie's
back.
like pulls up all that stuff on Google for Joe.
Okay.
like, on the spot. But anyway, we're releasing a ton of products this year to the market, but one of them that we kind of want to give a little sneak peek on. This isn't going to be a long episode. We just want to give you a sneak peek into one product that I've been kind of putting training together for, and I'm really excited for this product. It's called the Ecodan residential model, the air to water Ecodan system. And that is basically a heating system, heat pump heating system, domestic hot water system, or chilled water system.
Yeah. It can do domestic hot water.
Yep.
It can heat. It can provide hot water to baseboard, to radiant panels, towel warmers, you name it. You can go to a hydro coil, and with chilled or hot water.
Sky's the limit. There's a ton of inputs and outputs. And let's talk about the components first. We have an outdoor unit, kind of looks like a P-series unit, and I'm really excited about the color of this thing when I looked at it.
Really
it's
sharp.
like a dark gray.
Yeah.
Little different than what we're used to with the typical tan. We call it a tan color that we.
I don't know. I call it an off-white.
Yeah, but it looks like a P-series outdoor
Months of
unit.
light.
basic P series boards in the outdoor unit. And there's also an indoor unit, which is also called the Hydro Box.
The Hydro Box.
And this is self-contained. It has all of the components that you would find on a boiler or domestic hot water system. It's got your built-in expansion tank inside of this Hydro Box. And if you were looking at this Hydro Box, I'm just going to give some rough dimensions. It's probably about 2 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet deep.
It looks like I know there's many different brands, but I've always called them Palomo packs.
Yes,
the little hot water heaters that go on
I
the
remember
wall.
I used to work on the Paloma packs.
The instant hot water heaters. It reminds me of one of those. And a lot of boilers now are going on walls like that. You know, you don't see a lot of the newer boilers don't go on the floor. They hang on a wall and they're sidewall vented and things like that. That's what it reminds me of.
It's a refrigerant split, which unlike other products that are out on the market like monoblock, which we will be at some point bringing in from Europe in the future. But this one's a refrigerant split, which is really important for our market in the Northeast. We want we want that water inside the building. We don't want it outside, going outside to the condensing unit. The heat exchanger is in the Hydro Box inside the building. So that's huge. That's going to help with, preventing freezing.
Yeah. So refrigerant comes from the outdoor unit to the indoor Hydro Box. There's a heat exchanger in there. It's going to exchange the heat to a water circuit.
Right.
That water loop is then going to go either the baseboard or a radiant floor or a towel warmer. And it's also going to go into another heat exchanger inside a water heater, sort of like a tube and shell type of thing.
Indirect.
Yeah, indirect.
So the application is going to be the name of the game with this product. There, you could just be doing a brand new installation with just baseboard heat, very basic system, one zone, or maybe you got multiple zones. Like my house, I have 5 zones, 5 Taco zone valves, and I want to do some kind of retrofit. And you can keep. This is the beauty of it. If you want, you can keep the existing boiler as backup. So if you have those extreme low ambient temperatures, heat pump can't keep up. And we're going to talk about some of those operating ranges in a bit. But if it can't keep up, then it brings on that backup boiler that you got in there.
Yeah, I think by last count, I think we counted 20 different possible applications. That you could do with this thing. Now, there's one thing that I want to just caution everybody about, and I think most of the guys that do hydronics are going to already know this, but because this can heat water or it can chill water, chilled water can only go to certain terminals. Right? You don't want to send chilled water through a radiant floor. You don't want to send chilled water through a baseboard. You only want to send chilled water to a hydro unit, to an air handler.
Yeah.
Because of the condensation, you need to be able to get rid of it. If you send it to if you send chilled water into a floor, you're going to cause damage. If you send it to a baseboard, it's going to drip. So that's for those that don't know. I don't want to make that perfectly clear.
Right. Yeah. It's very unique. So it is a heat pump. It heats water. It chills water. So you could have that dual application. So it's going to be really important for contractors to attend our classes, and so we can talk about. We'll have design tools for it and everything else. But heating operating range would be minus 22 to 75 degrees, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Right. We don't usually go down to minus 22 here in Boston. Probably Chicago, something like that. But,
well, if you don't count the wind chill, if you count the wind chill, we've been the negative 22,
Right.
but this is not wind chill. This is, I believe it's dry bulb temperature.
Yeah.
I think the record, and I want to say, I use this as a joke in class all the time, but I think the record is negative 18 in Boston.
Right.
And the joke part is I always tell people it was in 1860 at Logan Airport. And if you're from Boston, you realize that in 1860, where Logan Airport is now, was the harbor. Just saying.
Yeah, so some more operating ranges. Domestic hot water, minus 22 to 177 degrees ambient. Cooling, 50 degree to 114 degree ambient.
What kind of water temps are we going to get on the outlet?
So outlet water temps for hot water are going to be 150 to 154 or 158 with a built-in water booster or water heater booster that is in the Hydro Box. And it's kind of a small cylinder. It's electric heat element that will heat that water and add some additional temperature to that water. So 158 is our max.
Yeah. So that's going to be based on how you set up your controller, right? Because you can actually set your desired delta T, right? Depending on your delta T, you'll end up with a different output water temperature. But that booster's great. I mean, it works off a separate circuit. But let's say for whatever reason the outdoor unit were to go into fault, you can still heat that water using the electric booster. So that's the nice thing about it, is helping as almost as an auxiliary heat like we would with CN24.
Yeah.
It's providing that auxiliary
And that's
heat.
another thing. There's an interactive controller on the front of the hydro box with a manometer just below it. Real sleek looking. Maybe we can show a sneak peek at some point of this unit. But yeah, chilled water at 50 degree ambient and above. We're looking at about 41 degrees. Chilled water, so it's pretty impressive.
That's pretty good,
right?
You send 41-degree water through a hydro coil and blow air across it, you're cooling.
Yeah, and it's an A2L refrigerant. It's R32. Right, so this system, unlike our typical residential lineup right now of M&P, which is 454B, this is R32.
Yeah.
So,
and we don't have the distances yet, the maximum distances, but
Right.
there are certain calculations, and we haven't seen the design tool yet, but I think the design tool is going to help you with some things. It comes with a built-in expansion tank, but if you exceed a certain amount of water, you may need another expansion tank. And of course, the water feed, you're going to need everything else you need by code, and every state's different. But I know in our state, you're going to need a backflow preventer, a pressure-reducing valve, a pressure relief valve, all kinds of air elimination, because you're going to purge the air out of it.
It actually does have a pressure relief valve in it too, which is great.
good.
But, additional expansion potential, and then you will need to get the water feed. Now, typically, a boiler's being fed 12 psi. They're looking for like 14.5 psi on this unit, but otherwise, it's very similar to what you do with a hydronic boiler.
Yeah. So if you're doing hydronics, this will be, I think, an interesting thing for you to look at. If you do geothermal, and we talked about geothermal in the past, I can't tell you how many geothermals I've done, but I've never seen two units done exactly the same.
Yeah.
And that's what this reminds me of, because there's so many different applications that you may never see. Rare that you're going to see two units exactly the same. But if you use the geothermal, this is the thing that might interest you, because now you're not digging a well, you're not burying anything in the ground. This is a pretty exciting piece of equipment, I think.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, and as far as the buffer tanks and your indirect tanks for your domestic hot water, we'll be rolling this out with third-party tanks. So you're going to pick up your own third-party tanks, and eventually we'll have Mitsubishi branded tanks.
Yes.
And that's, to come, things to come. But, super excited about this unit. There are a couple installed in the United States right now as test sites, which we're going to visit at some point.
I hope so.
And check those out.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about that, because a lot of especially on residential, but even some commercial, a lot of the air to water stuff is monoblock, and I was always wondering why do we go with the split system?
Yeah, I think the biggest one was freeze protection, keeping the water in the building. But there are a lot of benefits and advantages to having the refrigerant split versus monoblock. And what's the other one? Hydro split. With refrigerant split, we got less heat loss, better heat transfer, because we have refrigerant to water instead of water to water in the heat exchangers. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So better heat transfer with refrigerant to water, larger max piping length. So that's huge with the outdoor unit to the the hydro box. And the system is being a refrigerant split system. It handles the vertical separations better. So this is going to be important where the condenser's got to go on a roof, possibly like condominiums or something like that. We have that advantage with the longer vertical separation.
Yeah. So just to be clear, what a monoblock is, I don't know if everybody knows what a monoblock unit is, but the monoblock unit has the outdoor unit just like we have, but that refrigerant never leaves the outdoor unit.
Right.
There's going to be a water circuit. So refrigerant in the outdoor unit is one circuit. There's another circuit. It's a water circuit that goes to the outdoor unit, exchanges the heat, and now comes in to an indoor unit. And there's a third circuit that's going to exchange then the heat from there. So you're sending the heat you're transferring the heat from the refrigerant to water and then water to water. So that's what a monoblock is.
Now, there will be a time and a place for a monoblock.
Right, there's nothing
in the
wrong.
future. We
Yeah.
will be bringing those products in, and those will probably go into the southern markets.
Yeah.
Where they work a little
Yeah.
bit better. We don't have to worry about freezing at that
Yeah, I
point.
like the monoblock, but that's the thing. I mean, they have these all over Europe, and we meet quarterly with our European counterparts. We talk about these things, and they're an interesting piece of equipment. But now the water, if it's going outside and it's going to freeze, now you got glycol and freeze protection, things like that. So those are things you got to keep in mind.
And we have products that are monoblock. I mean, on the commercial side, we're going to have a hydronic product come out that's monoblock. The QHV is essentially
a monoblock,
monoblock.
yeah.
So, we have all of them. But I just, I think it's interesting especially on the residential side. I think it's a good idea to have that split style system. Now, with it being an A2L, there are still concerns or things we have to pay attention to as far as room size, where it's actually being installed, and that's going to be laid out in the manual as far as how high it's being installed, and A-min and M-min that we've talked about.
And basically, it's three things: it's room size, it's height of the indoor unit or the hydro box. It's a little more lenient when you go higher up on a wall, and max refrigerant charge in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, if you're familiar with the 454B mitigation, it's very similar to that. And if you got too small of a room, say a small mechanical room in a basement, you need more space, we're going to cut vents in for additional space, additional floor space. It's very simple.
Yeah.
But I don't think the contractor's going to run into that too much with, in the Northeast with basements. We got plenty of room in unfinished basements. So that mitigation won't be a problem.
Yeah. And as far as the Ecodan, so here we are in the middle of September. Ecodan's going to be released. We don't have an exact date right now, but we're probably talking in the next month or two, or, it's soon. It's going to be relatively soon. So, and we're excited about that. Steve mentioned he's working on some training for that. We'll have some e-learning. We might throw a webinar on here, and I'm sure we'll be back and talk about more specifics when we can share the refrigerant diagrams and electrical diagrams. We're putting all that training together now. We'll come back on the show, and then with this new method and with the YouTube people who are watching it, they'll be able to see examples on that and so forth. So I'm looking forward to this. I think we said at the beginning it's going to be a quick episode.
Yeah.
So it's what we have for right now.
This is the Ecodan residential air to water system, and marketing may change the name of it because Ecodan encompasses not only residential in the European market, but the commercial hot water as well, which is another
that's
system.
a whole other thing.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the commercial version of the Ecodan, but this is the Ecodan residential air to water system. Again, heating hot water, domestic hot water, and chilled water.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
Very awesome. I'm excited about it.
All right.
Cool.
So that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for the Ecodan for right now. More to come. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the setup a little better. I think we should get a U-shaped type of sports commentator type table.
Yeah.
Like a sports center.
Yeah.
We'd have to-
And
Maybe
then
I'll put you guys on
Bryn
a
can
set.
have like some cameras zooming in, and
Floating
well, maybe
around.
not too close, but
Yeah.
No, we don't want to get too close.
The
Bryn
only-
can
the only
get
thing
close.
that
He can
this,
show off his little Tom Selleck mustache. It's okay.
yeah,
The
I don't
only
know. I
thing-
can't get around that mustache. It's bugging me out every time I look at it.
The
But
only thing
whatever.
I would say that this studio is missing is Scott.
Yeah,
You mean
So
the-
I'm going to pull up a little picture of
The
Scott.
late Scott
Mhm.
Tallman.
So I pulled up a picture of him so we can
Okay,
always
that's not
remember.
that picture from high school, is it?
I don't know
He
when
looks-
this is from.
Okay, so listen, we love Scott and we miss him. So what we did yesterday is Bryn found on I think this is his birthday, and somebody posted this. I think it's a high school picture of him. So the three of us we thought it was funny. We each texted him that picture at the same time, so he would get 3 texts, and it probably means nothing to him. It means nothing to anybody listening, but we enjoyed it.
Yeah, we did. We got a
That's
laugh
great.
out of it, and a response from Scott, and he said, "I hate you guys."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He texted us as a group, but we texted him individually the picture.
Yeah.
So,
that's
if we didn't
great.
love him, we wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That's all.
And speaking of love, Roland's doing great. Roland had major surgery, lung transplant, and he's just doing amazing. So thank God for that. I was talking to him the other day. He said he feels better than he did 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely get him on the podcast. Go down to his house with the podcast.
Oh,
kit.
we got to.
I think that's definitely worth a trip.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we are going to Orlando in January. So maybe we can bring the kit with us and stop by his house.
Yeah.
Not a bad
We
idea.
won't be on video then because we're not going to bring all this equipment with us. But
Why not?
you carry
Make him
it.
make room
You
for
check
us.
it in.
Yeah.
We could do an episode on airflow through his lungs and through an HVAC system or
That's
something.
true. Well, he's the airflow guy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Awesome.
I'll see
This
you
will be
guys.
some nachos.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you on the next one.